Happy morning to all girls. So in the yesterday's class we have seen about origin of drama and the life and works of William Shakespeare. So today we are going to see the a summary part. Okay, Macbeth summary. So we are going to learn and discuss what is happening in a Macbeth, what is the full story, what is the main idea. So those things we are going to see in this class. So actually Macbeth full title was The Tragedy of Macbeth. Okay, is a tragedy by William Shakespeare. It is thought to have been first performed in 1906, but the dramatist changing of physical and psychological effects of ambition. So, on those who seeks power to all at sake of all the play. So that Shakespeare wrote during the region of James I, at the time of James I were ruled the country. So as well as who is he means who was the patron of Shakespeare's acting company. That means who is the sponsor. James I is the sponsor of the acting company. And then Macbeth clearly reflects the playwright relationship with his suffragan. So in this Macbeth clearly reveals the playwright relationship with the suffragan. The suffragan means the superior. Though what is the playwright relationship with the superior? It was first published in Folio, Folio, Folio of 1623. It was possibly through pamped book, that means short story book. Okay, in a short story. Okay, it is and then the Macbeth is a shorter tragedy. So first I'm going to say the outline of Macbeth. A brave Scottish general named Macbeth, okay, receives a prophecy from trio of a witches. That means three of a witches find that one day he will become a king of Scotland. Okay, so the prophecy give the witches give three prophecies. In that main one is the third one is the day he will become a king of Scotland. He consumed by ambition and spread to action by his wife. So he planned to by ambition. He consumed and spurred to action by his wife. So Macbeth murders a King Duncan and takes the Scottish throne for himself. He is then racked with guilt and paranoia. So after getting his throne, how he got means he just murdered the King Duncan. So at last what happened, he then racked. That means racked means very drunkard. Okay, and then he with a guilt and paranoia. Paranoia means what we have said, delusion. The person one was mentally depressed. Okay. So now we are going to see the character list one by one. First, we are going to see the who's Macbeth, how he was. Okay, Macbeth is a Scottish general. Macbeth is a Scottish general and the Thane of Climes, who is led to wicked thoughts by the prophecies of the three witches, especially after the prophecy that he will be made Thane of Cavada comes true. Macbeth is a brave soldier and a powerful man, but he is not a righteous one. He is easily tempted into murder to fulfill his ambitions to the throne. And once he commits his first crime and is crowned King of Scotland, he remarks on further atrocities with increasing easily. Ultimately, Macbeth proves himself better suited to the battlefield than to political intrigue. because he lacks the skill necessary to rule without being a tyrant. His response to every problem, his violence and murder, unlike Shakespeare's great villains such as Iago in Othello and Richard III in Richard III, Macbeth is never comfortable in his role as a criminal. He is unable to he is unable to bear he is unable to bear the psychological consequence of his atrocities. Okay, so actually here Macbeth was a Scottish general, and then he was called Thane of Glamis and then Thane of Coverdale. Actually, when they are after their battle returning to their castle, he himself and then his friend Banquo, they both are met three witches. They gave up prophecies. Okay, what are the three prophecies? Means you are the Thane of Glamis. Actually was a Thane of Glamis. That means those who has a power in their professional. And the next one, Thane of Coverdale. Those who are in the army field, he become the leader after that. After the battle you own. So he was already called a Thane of Coverdale. Comes true. So that time he was thinking those prophecies were witches gave is happened. Okay. The third one they gave, you are going to become a king of Scotland. So Macbeth is have the soldier and powerful man, but it's not a virtuous one. Okay, he is really tempted into murder to fulfill his ambition. So actually his ambition was to become a king. For that he want to fulfill his ambition, as well as the witches gave the prophecy. So he believed that they gave a three prophecies. Two prophecies are truth. It's become a truth, and then he was waiting for the third one. So he want to fulfill that ambition. And once he commits his first crime, his crowded a king of Scotland, he remarks a further atrocities with increasing easy. Actually, he was powerful man, but he was what do you have to say? Macbeth proved himself better suited to the better battlefield than to the political intrigue. He just want to prove himself, okay, better suited to the better battlefield than to the political intrigue, because he lacks the skill necessary to rule without being a tyrant. He was lacking skill. Okay, actually he was a battlefield. He was powerful in the battlefield. So his ambition was to become a Scotland king, but he was in lacking skill to rule the country. Okay, without being a tyrant. His responses to every problem is violence and murder. So when he started the first crime, and then after, often his responses to every problem is violence and murder. Unlike Shakespeare villains such as Iago in Othello and Richard III in Richard III. Okay, so those character was our appropriate role for the villain role. But here Macbeth is never comfortable in this role as a criminal. Okay, so that's why this is the character. So he is unable to bear the psychological consequence. He is unable to tolerate the psychological consequence of his atrocities. Next character, Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth's wife. Actually, Macbeth's wife is Lady Macbeth. Okay. So, Macbeth's wife, a deeply ambitious woman. Okay, deeply ambitious woman who lusts for power and position. So, she have the lust on power and position. Early in the play, she seems to be a stronger and more ruthless of the two. Okay, in the early plays, in the early of the drama, she looks to be a very stronger and more ruthless of the two, as they urges her husband to kill Duncan and seize the throne. So as she urges her husband to kill Duncan and seize the throne, for that her husband only what would I say give the idea. Okay, actually she want to fulfill his husband's ambition. For that she killed Duncan and seized the throne for his husband. After the bloodshed begins, However, Lady Macbeth falls victim to guilt and madness to an even greater degree than for her husband. So, actually, for husband's sake only she did the murder. Okay, after the murder, she falls as to herself as a victim, and she feels as a guilt and madness to even greater degree than her husband. Compared to her husband, she felt very more guilt and become a madness. Her conscience affects her to such an extent that she eventually commits suicide. Okay, interestingly, she and Macbeth are presented as a being deeply in love, and Mary of Lady Macbeth's speech implied that her influence over her husband is primarily sexual. They a joint alienation from the world occasioned by their partnership in crime seems to strengthen then the attachment that they feel to each another. Actually, after she felt fall, she is a victim to guilt and madness and greater than her husband. What happened? She eventually commit her suicide. Okay, because she felt that she felt some she fall as a victim, so eventually she committed a suicide. Macbeth as a presented as a being deeply in love. Both their loves are presented in this play. Both are deeply in love. For that love only make that this crime. Okay, and Mary of a Lady Macbeth speeches implies that her influence, even her speech implies influence over her husband is primarily sexual. So she was very good in that beginning, and then she is very ambitious woman who lust for, who interest, who passion for power and position. Three witches. Three black and midnight hats. Okay, black and midnight hats who plot mischief against Macbeth using charms, spells, and prophecies. Their predictions prompt him to murder Duncan, to order the death of Banquo and his son. Okay, and to blindly believe in its own immortality. The play leaves the witches' true identity unclear, aside from the fact that they are servant of Exit. We know little about their place in the cosmos. In some ways, they resemble the mythological fates who impersonally view the threads of human destiny. They clearly take a perverse delight in using their knowledge of the future to toy with the destroy human beings. Actually, the three witches are the three witches are those they are servants of Hecate. Okay, in a place in the cosmos. Actually, what happened? The three black and midnight hats. Okay, the three witches were met the Macbeth who plot mischiefs against the So the person one who mischieved the plot against Macbeth using charms, spells, and prophecies. So they make to lead the Macbeth with their charms, with their beautiful words, beautiful spells, and their prophecies. So through this way, they mischieve the plot against Macbeth. The prediction, okay, the predictions prompt him to murder Duncan to order the death of Banquo. So and his son. So and what happened? The three witches have to predict the prompt him to murder the Duncan, to order the deaths of Banquo, who is later I'll explain, and his son. So and to blindly believe it. So Macbeth blindly believed its own immortality. So own knowledge he took and believes it. He didn't think about, he didn't analyze those three witches what they said, whether it is going to true or it is a fake. He didn't analyze that. He just believed that. The play leaves the witches, okay, true identity unclear aside from the fact that they are servant of acted. So at the time they just came and then they gave the three prophecies and they left the play. So this is about three witches. So next one, who is Banquo? The brave noble general whose children according to the witches. Okay, the brave noble general whose children according to the witches prophecy will inherit the Scottish throne. Like Macbeth, Banquo thinks ambitious thoughts, but he does not translate those thoughts into action. In a sense, Banquo's character stands as a rebuke to Macbeth, since he represents the path Macbeth chose not to take, a path in which ambitions need not lead to betrayed any murder. Appropriately, then, it's Banquo's ghost and not Duncan's that haunts Macbeth, in addition to embodying Macbeth's guilt for killing Banquo. The ghost also reminds Macbeth that he did not emulate Banquo's reaction to the witch's prophecy. Actually, Banquo, who he means, he was the brave and noble general whose children, according to the witch's prophecy, with inherit the Scottish throne. So, generation to generation want to rule the Scottish. So those children according to the witches, like Macbeth, Banquo thinks ambitious thought, okay, but he does not translate those thoughts into action. So same thing. What is the ambition for Macbeth? Same thing. Banquo also thinks ambitious, but he didn't translate those thoughts into action. In a sense, Banquo's character stands as a rebuke to Macbeth. So rebuke means re-put to the Macbeth, since he represents the path Macbeth choose not to take up, a path which ambitions need not lead to betrayal and murder. King Duncan, the good king of Scotland, whom Macbeth, okay, the good king of Scotland, whom Macbeth, in his ambition for the crown, murders. Duncan is the model of a virtuous, benevolent, and far-sighted ruler. His death symbolizes the destruction of an order in Scotland that can be restored only when Duncan's line, in the person of Malcolm, once more occupies the throne. Actually, King Duncan is a good king of Scotland. So whom now Macbeth, for Macbeth is a general of army, Duncan's army. Okay, in his ambition for the crown, murders. Okay, Duncan is the model of a virtuous, the righteous person. He is a model of righteous, benevolent, and farsighted ruler. Okay, so benevolent and farsighted ruler. So King Duncan, he was a model of virtuous. That means he is a model of moral. And then benevolent. That means he was a very kind-hearted. And far-sighted ruler. That means cautious ruler, careful ruler. His death symbolizes the destruction of an order in Scotland. So his death symbolizes the destruction of an order in Scotland. Its death symbolizes to show that in Scotland order is going to destruction that can be restored only when Duncan's line, okay, in the person of Malcolm, once more occupy the throne. The next character, Macbeth, a Scottish nobleman hostile to Macbeth's kingship from the start. He eventually becomes a leader of the crusade to unseat a Macbeth the the Crusades' mission is to place the rightful king Malcolm on the throne, but Macduff also desired vengeance for Macbeth's uh, murder of Macduff's wife and young son. So the Macduff, who is he means? He was a Scottish nobleman. He was the next one, Malcolm, the son of Duncan, whose restoration to the throne signals Scotland's return to order following Macbeth's reign of terror. Malcolm becomes a serious challenge to Macbeth with Macduff's priors to this, he appears weak and uncertain of his own power, as when he and Donalbain flee Scotland after their father's murder. Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, okay, who helps the three witches work their mischief on Macbeth. So next character, Flint, Banquo's son, who survives Macbeth's attempt to murder him. At the end of the play, Flint's whereabouts are unknown. Personally, he may come to rule Scotland, fulfilling the witch's prophecy that Banquo's. Next one, Lennox, a Scottish nobleman. Okay, and then Rose, a Scottish nobleman. The murderers, a group of ruffians conscripted by Macbeth to murder Banquo. Flints, who they foiled to kill, and Macduff's wife and children. Porter, the drugged doorman of Macbeth's castle. Lady Macduff, Macduff's wife. The scene in her castle provides our only glimpse of domestic life, other than that of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. She and her home serve as contrast to Lady Macbeth and the hellish world of inwardness. And then Donalbain, Duncan's son and Malcolm's younger brother. Duncan and Malcolm's younger brother. So these are the main characters and their roles. So let me move to the summary part. The play begins with the brief appearance of a trio of witches. That means three witches were appear, and then moves to military camp where the Scottish King Duncan hears that news that his general, who is a generally a Macbeth, and Banquo have defeated two separate invading armies, one from Ireland led by the rebel Macdonald, and one from Norway. Following their pitched battle with these enemy forces, okay, so both two generals were defeated. Two separate armies. One is from rebel Macdonald and from Norway. So this is the beginning of the story. Following their pitched battle with these enemy forces, Macbeth and Banquo recounted the witches as they cross a moor. Actually, when they are after finishing their battle, so both are crossing traveling to their castle. The witches prophesies that Macbeth will be made Thane. Okay, that means a rank of Scottish nobility. So he was called as a Thane of Cavender, and eventually King of Scotland. So he gives a three prophecies. One is the Thane of Climbs, second one is the Thane of Cavaldor, and eventually third one, King of Scotland. So they also prophesies that Macbeth's companion Banquo will beget that a line of Scottish kings. Although Banquo will never be king himself, the witches vanish and Macbeth and Banquo treat their prophecies, okay, skeptically, that means typically, until some of the King Duncan's men come to thank the two generals for their victories in battle and to tell Macbeth that he has indeed been named Thane of Cavada. So he's going to be named a Thane of Cavada. Yeah, of course, because they defeated the battle, two different battles. So of course, the king is going to call him as named as a Thane of Cavada. The previous Thane betrayed the Scotland by fighting for the Norwegians, and Duncan, reminder of the witch's prophecy. So that he will be a crowded king might be true, but he is uncertain what to expect. He visit with King Duncan, and they plan to din together at Inverness. So Macbeth's castle that night, Macbeth writes a letter to his wife, Lady Macbeth, telling her all that has whatever happened. So Lady Macbeth suffers none of her husband's uncertainty. Okay, she desired the kingship for him and wants him to murder Duncan in order to obtain it. When Macbeth arrives at Inverness at night, she overrides all of her husband's objections and persuades him to kill the king that very night. He and Lady Macbeth plan to get Duncan's two chamberlains drunk too, so they will block out. The next morning, they will blame for murder on the chamberlains, who will be defenseless, as they will remember nothing. While Duncan is asleep, Macbeth states him, despite his doubts, and a number of supernatural portents, including a vision of bloody dagger. When Duncan's death is discovered the next morning, Macbeth kills the chamberlains, ostensibly out of rage at their crime, and easily assumes the kingship. Duncan's sons Malcolm and Donald Bain flee to England and Ireland, respectively, fearing that whoever killed Duncan's desires their demises as well. Fearful of the witch's prophecy that Banquo hers will seize the throne, Macbeth hires a group of murderers to kill Banquo and his son Flint. Okay, the ambitious Banquo on his way to royal feast, but they fail to kill Flint, who escapes into the night. Macbeth becomes furious as long as Flint is alive. He fears that his power remains insecure. At the feast that night, Banquo's ghost visits Macbeth. When he sees the ghost, Macbeth raves fearfully, startling his guests, who include most of the great Scottish nobility. Lady Macbeth tries to neutralize the damage, but Macbeth's kingship incites increasing resistance from his noble and subject. Frightened, Macbeth goes to visit the witches in their cavern. They show him a sequence of demons and spirits who present him with the further prophecies. He must be aware of Macbeth, a Scottish nobleman who opposed Macbeth's actions to the throne. He is incapable of being armed by any man born of woman, and he will be safe until being man. Wood comes to Dunshane Castle. Macbeth is revealed and feels secure because he knows that all men are born of woman and that forests cannot move. When he learns that Macduff has fled to England to join Malcolm, Macbeth orders that Macduff castle be seized and mostly cruelly that Lady Macduff and her children be murdered. When news of his family's succession reaches a Macduff in England, he is stricken with grief and vows a revenge. Prince Malcolm Duncan's son has succeeded in raising an army in England, and Macduff joins him as he rides to Scotland to challenge Macbeth's force. The invasion has the support of the Scottish nobles, who are appalled and frightened by Macbeth's tyrannical, murderous behavior. Lady Macbeth, meanwhile, becomes plagued with fits of sleepwalking, in which she bemoans what she believes to be bloodstain on her hands. Before Macbeth's opponent arrive, Macbeth receives news that she has killed herself, causing him to sink into a deep and pessimistic despair. Nevertheless, he awaits the English and fortifies Dungeness, to which he seems to have withdrawn in order to defend himself, ascertain that the witch's prophecies guarantees his invincibility. He is struck numb with the fear. However, when he learns that the English army is advancing on Dunshane, shielded with bouts of cut from Brennan Hood. Brennan Hood is indeed coming to Dunshans, fulfilling of the witch's prophecies. In the battle, Macbeth heals violently, but the king forces gradually overwhelm his army and castle. On the battlefield, Macbeth encounters the Vangefield Macduff, who declares that he was not of a woman born, but instead ultimately arrived from his mother's womb. So, though he realizes that he is doomed, Macbeth continues to fight until Macduff kills and beheads him. Malcolm, now the King of Scotland, declares his benevolent intention for the country and invites all to see him crowned to scorn. Thank you, girls.